I'm Phil Glennon, the video archivist for the city of Tega Cay. In order to preserve the history of Tega Cay, I have compiled a documentary, and with those interviews plus a few other supporting documents which we portray, we try to give you the real story of Tega Cay. This is Hans Gaede, who is a longtime resident of Tega Cay. He came to Tega, he started buying his house in Tega Cay in 1970, and we believe he was the first resident of Tega Cay. He lives on Marquesas Avenue. Would you tell me, Hans, when you bought your home and what the process was like in your buying the home?
Well, I mean, the process was fairly simple, just like buying a home anyplace else. You sign a contract with the Irving Company, who owned the place then, and
in the process of marketing the house, there was a fellow named Heine, was there?
Yeah, Jim Heine.
Jim Heine, and
was a sales manager for the Irving Company.
Yeah, and he brought you out to Tega Cay to show you some property.
No, I met him in Tega Cay the first time I came. I heard about it.
Yeah.
And came out.
Yeah. And so, but he brought you out to look at the property.
He showed me some properties, you know, first on a map in the sales office, and then out in the field. And that's the way I like the place, you know. I mean, he explained what it looks like, would look like when it's finished and built out, and so I was sold on the idea of moving out here on the lake.
Yeah. Now this, the house or the property that he showed you was off the Manila Bay Marquesas.
Well, the first property he showed me was down at Manila Bay Lane.
Yeah.
And that was lot number 45. And but it was almost impossible to go down there. There was just a little dirt trail coming off Tega Cay Drive, off Marquesas. And
but so it was all wooded then, and
it was all wooded, and
but
you know, and
it overlooked the water.
It overlooked the water. It was a beautiful waterfront lot, and but he said that it probably take another year before they could build a home down there.
Yeah. So then he showed you something.
So I sold my house in Charlotte, and I had to move one way or the other. I told Jim I gotta have a home one way or another to move into. What do you have? And well, he said I have a spec home in Marquesas Avenue, which is complete, and you could move in if you want to buy it. So he showed me the house, and I liked it. It had no water and no sewage connection at the time. He said, well, that's no problem. We put you a septic tank in the yard, and we put a tank outside, you know, fill it up with water twice a week. And so, you know, that's about all you need. You got electricity in the house, and that's it. Anyway, I bought the house, and in May of 1971, I was ready to move in.
Good. Okay, so then you moved into a newly developed community, but as time went on, there were a few other people who came in and bought homes.
Oh yeah, then I mean, people starting to trickle in, you know, here and there. You know, I mean, one in this section, one in section 1, one in section 2, and 3, and you know, and scattered all over the place.
Yeah. So then there were a group of people, and I understand they formed a property owners association.
Yeah.
When they got this group of people.
Right.
And what did they tag you with in the Property Owners Association? What job?
Well, I had no idea what they were talking about. You know, then they tried to form a property owners association with about 10 or 12 property owners in the whole development.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, I can't remember how that went, and but eventually they formed an association.
Yeah, but then they gave you a job as what is it, architectural review?
Right. Well, that didn't come from the Property Owners Association. That idea came from Jim Heine, who asked me if I would be willing to serve on the Architectural Review Committee
for the Tega Cay.
For Tega Cay.
Yeah.
And so I agreed and said, yeah, I'd be willing to do that.
But you really were responsive to the Property Owners Association.
Right.
And so you were the representative from Property Owners Association, and they had how many on their board? They have 3 members of the Architectural Review Committee on from the
Urban Company. They had 3, and myself for the Property Owners Association. That makes 4.
Yeah, and so you had a vote, but only a minority vote, really. But you were able to get your views, the property owners' views into it.
I was able to get my views across and my objection to something. And sometimes they listened to it, and sometimes I was voted down. And that's the way that.
Yeah. What were some of the things that you were looking for in the architectural review of the homes that were going up, like the roofs, or?
Well, the compliance with the building codes, and with the that the houses were built according to specifications.
Okay, they had a set of specifications.
They had a set of specifications.
And obviously they were selling homes to people based upon the specifications, and you wanted to make sure that they complied. So that was your job. And
we had, well, in those days, people came to us and asked if they could have a conventional roofing rather than cedar shingles, and that was in those days absolutely no, because that was one of the selling points, that every house had to have cedar shingles, because it was supposed to be a Polynesian theme out here.
Yeah. But so you held on to this job for a couple of years.
Yeah, a year and a half.
2 years.
And then it became too much, and interfered with my regular job.
Yeah.
And I gave it up.
Yeah. So I'm gonna move over to a map and show the area that you've told me you used as a review map. In other words, this map showed all the homes on it, and as time went on, you marked off the ones that you reviewed from an architectural point of view. So we're going to go to that map now. Hans, this is a map of Tega Cay, and he's going to point out the ones that he reviewed for architectural conformity.
Well, all the lots which are marked in red are finished houses which were released and okayed by the Architectural Review Committee. The ones in black are the ones still under construction, and they had to be reviewed.
Well, it looks to me like you have approximately 20 to 30 houses that you've already reviewed, and just as many more that were being constructed.
Right.
So it was quite a job that you had.
And this was an ongoing thing, they filled in those lots practically faster than we could review them, because we only met once a week, and in the course of a day, how many sites could you inspect?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it was a big job. So we'll go on to the rest of our talk here.
Oh.
Now, as time went on, the city was built up. An important part of the city was what is now City Hall. Would you tell me something about what the structure was like when it first started and where it was located?
Well, I mean, the structure was basically the same, except it was only half enclosed and half open. And on the right side of it, it had a big open fireplace.
This is the right side, looking at it.
The right side, looking at it from the front. On the right side, which was open, they had a big open fireplace, and with benches all the way around where people could sit for a picnic. It was, I mean, the whole building was built as a big gazebo.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, people could gather there for a picnic, or just relaxation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that was there for a while, and then after a while, I understand they turned it into a store. Is that?
Yeah, and then it became was taken over by a 7-Eleven, and they removed the fireplace and then closed the right section, and the left section of the house became the 7-Eleven.
Mm-hmm. I see. Okay, and then later on the 7-Eleven folded and they turned it into a city hall.
Right.
And so that's sort of an ongoing story. The city hall is in the same location as that building even today. All right, now there was, will you tell me something about the roads around Tega Cay when you were living here early on? Dirt, cement, or whatever. What was the structure of the roads?
Well, I mean, in the early days, we had nothing but dirt roads from the entrance to the far end of every section.
Mm-hmm.
And when it rained, it was just one big mud hole everywhere. I mean, you know, you could slip and slide through there. And
I understand you got bogged down there once.
I got bogged down there several times, you know, at the steep curve where you turn off the windjammer, and all the rainwater ran down there, and all the mud from the adjacent hill and collected in that area.
Mm-hmm. So it was sort of a necessity in time for them to pave the roads, and I guess that didn't happen for another year or two.
It didn't happen for about another year.
Yeah.
When I moved into my home, there was no telephone.
Mm-hmm.
When I had to use a telephone, for some reason or another, I had to go to the guardhouse up front to use their telephone.
Mm-hmm.
And in the evening, every once in a while, one of the guards came by and checked on me and said if I needed something or if everything is all right. Mm-hmm. Well, we had a lot of wild dogs running around here.
Yeah.
And after a while they get out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
And they organized a dog hunt one day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they shot about every dog in sight.
Yeah. Now these are people from in Tega Cay or from outside? From
Tega Cay.
In Tega Cay, and so.
I mean, this was organized by the company.
Oh, I see.
To get rid of the wild dogs.
Yeah, yeah.
which roamed around here, you know, and I had a little terrier which was ripped apart one day by some of those wild dogs outside.
Wow. So they really were wild.
They were wild and vicious.
Yeah. So you tamed the place a little bit that way. So anyway, finally the roads were paved and
then we finally get some water lines laid down, and they installed some sewage lines too. And in the meantime, I had a septic tank buried in the yard as an interim solution, and I had big water tank outside on the right side of the home, which the oven company filled up twice a week.
So you didn't have a well, you had just a tank.
I just had a tank. It was, you know, it was filled up with water. I mean, a big tank.
Yeah. So this went on for a year or so?
And that went on for about a year.
Yeah. So it was real primitive living early on.
Fairly primitive, yes.
You know. All right. Would you tell me something about Windjammer Park? I understand that was an important part of Tega Cay even early on.
Oh, Windjammer Park was open from early on, and it wasn't something like it is today. It was just a point way out there with tall trees, and they put some what they call tikis around.
These are the Polynesian...
Those are the Polynesian Easter Island type of figures.
They were like the ones at Easter Island.
Right. And I don't know what purpose they served. They were just
Polynesian type.
so interesting to look at.
Yeah. But anyway, they did do some swimming out at Windjammer.
Oh yeah, you could do some swimming down there.
And
but it took a while before they you know, established the beach by trucking some sand in, and so all this took a while, you know, step by step.
Yeah, and this period we're talking about is up to about 1973 and 74.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Would you tell me something about the golf course? I mean, the clubhouse now. What was there initially? The clubhouse wasn't there, so...
Well, the clubhouse wasn't there. Where the clubhouse stands now at the highest point, they had the so-called observation tower. A big wooden structure which, you know, ladders that go up. And about, I don't know how tall this thing was, about 40 feet, 50 feet up in the air.
What was the purpose of this? Of this tower? Was it for, you know, people to look out?
For people, I mean, there was a sort of instruction or information map under glass up there that showed different points in Tega Cay, and where everything is going to be in the future. So
was it, in other words, it's what part of the sales pitch?
It was part of the sales pitch, you know.
And some of the golf at that stage, some of the golf holes were in. I mean, they were being constructed. Is that right?
Right.
Being constructed. Yeah.
And after they started, I mean, before they started building the clubhouse, they had to move the observation tower. And they moved the observation tower in a location down on Tega Cay Drive, where the city now keeps the wood chips piled up. Remember that little area?
Well, is it near the maintenance shack?
Yeah, a little farther down, you know.
Oh yes, there's an area along Tega Cay Drive where in the last few years he used to put trash before it went out to the real dump.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It was on the right-hand side.
On the right-hand side.
Yeah.
A little paved area.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where they moved the observation tower.
Mm-hmm.
And it was standing there for several years.
Yeah. Now that was
until it became too deteriorated, you know, and unsafe for people to climb on it.
Yeah. That was one of the sales vehicles that the urban company used, and I understand there was another one, the Kon Tiki. Could you tell me a little bit about the Kon Tikis in your recollection?
Well, the Kon Tiki was another one of those sales pitches, you know, for Tega Cay. It was practically a big floating dining room with kitchens. Mm-hmm. And a big observation deck on top. Mm-hmm. And they built the Kon Tiki originally down at the parking lot of the Church of the Day. Mm-hmm. I mean, not complete, but
the deck.
But the basic hull was built on dry land there, and then it was moved down to the
Hidden Harbor Marina.
Hidden Harbor Marina, and put in the water and finished. Mm-hmm. And furbished, you know.
Mm-hmm. And it operated, I guess, out of there for several years.
And then it was moved over to the existing marina.
Oh, and operated out of there.
And operated out of there.
Yeah. Well, you've given me a good story of what Tega Cay was like in the early days from the earliest settler, I guess, and I appreciate this. And for the people who are looking at the history of Tega Cay, this will be an important sector of it.